are so excited to welcome local author Greta Kelly as our speaker. Her presentation is going to be The Secret of Stubbornness. She wrote 2 books, The Frozen Crown and the sequel, The Seventh Queen. And I'm not a fangirl or anything, but I got these babies personalized. They were already autographed from Blue House Books. So we read those for Greta Women's Network's Wise Women Read Book Club, and she even attended the meeting via Zoom to discuss them with us, so she's pretty awesome. As her bio states, Greta K. Kelly is probably not a witch, or otherwise, or witch, death, or otherwise, so we have to read books to get that. But she can still be summoned with offerings of 2 beautiful-to-use journals and butterfingers. So that's how we got her here. She currently lives in Wisconsin with her husband, EJ, and daughters, Lauralee and Nadia, who are doing their level best to take over the world. So please welcome Greta Kelly.
Well, hello. Thank you all for having me today. I'm really very excited to speak with you. A little nervous too. Like Rita mentioned, I had originally been asked, I think way back in January now, after book club, if I would like to speak, and I immediately said yes. And then I went and had a small panic attack, wondering what on earth I was going to say. As you can imagine, as an author, I normally speak to book clubs or prospective writers or people who just love science fiction and fantasy. But professionals, that's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. So I was having this little miniature meltdown, and my husband just kind of looks at me and goes, "Honey, you figured out how to make your dreams come true. Why don't you just talk about that?" Really? You should have seen the look I gave him. No, it wasn't a look, it was the look. I said, "You want me to stand up in front of a group of intelligent, accomplished people and tell them to follow their dreams?" And he just kind of shrugs and goes, "Well, yeah, all of us have dreams, but almost none of us get a chance to realize them. You did. So I think you should talk about that." Well, crap. No, I didn't actually tell him that he was right, so if we could just keep that between us. But in all honesty, I think the reason I was so resistant to the idea was because the words, "follow your dreams," I mean, they're so cliche, so ubiquitous at this point, they basically mean nothing. It's the kind of thing we tell our kids, or we see stitched on inspirational pillows. It's the kind of thing we speak to the universe like a prayer we're just hoping will be answered. But then what? Yes, my dream was to write and publish books, but I'm willing to bet that your dreams are wildly different. So what did I really have to offer? As I thought about that and thought about it some more, I realized that there actually is a connecting thread that unites not all of us, just us dreamers, but everyone who has reached for their dreams and attained them. And it's the influence of 2 almost opposing and yet inextricably linked forces: luck and stubbornness. Now, I can't give you much advice about luck, because that is so often the province of God or the universe. But stubbornness, I know all about. And it's not just because I have 2 toddlers at home. Everything I have ever achieved in my life I owe to stubbornness, even when I was a kid. Now, I am dyslexic, so for me, learning to read and write was a huge challenge. I was way behind all of my classmates growing up, to the point where my parents even considered holding me back a grade. And I so vividly remember the summer before 6th grade, looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, there is no way I'm going to go to middle school being the kid who was afraid to read in front of class. And so I went to my parents' bookshelf and I grabbed the biggest book I could find, vowing to read it cover to cover before the summer was over. And that book happened to be Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, American classic. And I read it, and you know what? I hated every word. But that's okay. The point is that I did it. Page after page, I proved to myself that I could, in fact, read. It was an act of sheer stubbornness. And in the grand scheme of things, it was tiny, just the tiniest of little steps. But it was the first, which is what makes it so important. You see, the reason that words like "follow your dreams" are slightly useless is because they fail to encompass how big our dreams are. It's hard to see a roadmap from something so vast when your dreams are almost too huge to visualize. So my first piece of advice to you is find that first step, even if it seems small or inconsequential, even if it's hard, perhaps especially if it's hard. I mean, as we all know, there's very few things in this life worth having that will come easily. That was true for me of reading. And I'm so thankful that it did, because not only did it teach me the value of persistence, but it also taught me that books could live and breathe inside of you. I learned that there were books out there that I would inspire love and hate and despair and happiness. And yes, I might have hated that first book that I picked up, but I found so many more later on that I loved, characters and worlds that I loved so deeply that I wanted to start creating worlds of my own. And so I did. I took that second stubborn step and dove in feet first. And you know what? I was really bad. Like, for a long time, I wrote so many stories that will never see the light of day, including one Da Vinci Code fan fiction that might be a crime against the English language. But that's okay. I think as a society, we tend to undervalue failure because we take it on as a personality trait, when realistically, it's just a momentary learning experience. Failure is inevitable. You may as well embrace it. Embrace the suck. But the fear of failure, ooh, that is the real killer. I mean, I would know, with all this talk about loving, reading, and writing, you probably assume I marched off to college and got my English degree. You would be wrong. Somewhere in my adolescence, I got it in my head that writing wasn't a career that real people did. And so I went and got myself a business degree because that was the expected thing to do. It was the safe thing to do. It's the afraid thing to do. I thought it's a 1 in a million chance that I'll make it in publishing, so why even try? Why put myself out there? Why be that vulnerable if there's no guarantee of success? And you know, I often wonder where I would be right now if I had chosen differently, if I had chosen to hope, if I had clung to that stubborn little voice inside of me that to this day whispers, you will miss every shot you don't take. And I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I mean, I was still writing during that time, not seriously or regularly, but I was never completely able to put the pen down. I'd simply lost faith, not just in the world, but in myself. And so if there's just one thing you take away from this little lecture, please let it be this. Sometimes it's going to feel like the odds are stacked against you, like there's all of your luck and all of your chances have already been spent. Like every choice you are ever going to make in your life has already been made. Like there's a whole world full of people waiting to tell you no. Don't be one of them. It's advice I really wish I would have internalized earlier because it would have saved me a lot of time. In fact, it wasn't until I was working professionally that I finally realized that I would never truly be satisfied if writing wasn't a part of my life. So I took all that fear and I used it. I funneled it. I used it as fuel. And I grabbed all that stubbornness that had been simmering deep inside me and I started trying. And I realized in doing that while failure may be inevitable, defeat is for other people. Publishing is a cutthroat business. The odds of failure will always outweigh the odds of success, even now when I'm almost 3 books in. The only thing I had control over, the only thing any of us have any control over is what we do next. So come with me, take that next step, push past the fear, put on your big girl pants and take the dang shot. Follow your passions and trust that you can actually make your dreams come true. Yeah, it's gonna take work. You're gonna have to hustle. But when you reach the top of that mountain, it's like nothing else in the world. Thank you all so much for having me today. And if there are any fantasy lovers in your life, consider picking up a copy of The Frozen Crown. It's available wherever books are sold.